You've been lied to about why you can't follow through. They told you it's a motivation problem. They told you it's a discipline problem. They told you to just push harder, want it more, care enough to make it happen. But here's what nobody's saying. The reason you know exactly what to do but still don't do it has nothing to do with motivation. It has everything to do with identity conflict. And until you understand this, you'll keep starting and stopping for the rest of your life. If you've ever sat down to work on something important and felt your body physically resist, if you've ever had the plan, the time, and the energy, but still found yourself scrolling instead of starting, if you've ever wondered why other people can just execute while you're stuck in analysis mode, then what I'm about to tell you will explain everything. Psychology has a term for what's happening to you. It's called identity behavior mismatch, and it's the silent killer of execution. Here's how it works. Every single person operates from an internal identity, a story about who they are. I'm the kind of person who overthinks. I'm not a morning person. I'm bad with money. I'm not creative. I'm someone who starts things but never finishes. Now here's the problem. Your brain will always act in alignment with your identity, not your goals, not your intentions. Your identity. Behavioral psychology research shows that when your actions contradict your self-concept, your nervous system creates psychological resistance to bring you back in line. Translation: you're not failing because you're weak. You're failing because your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. Protect your sense of self. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. You set a goal to build a business. You tell yourself, this time it's different. You make a plan. You even start. But 3 weeks in, you stop. Not because you got lazy. Not because you lost motivation. You stopped because the identity of business owner felt foreign. It didn't match the internal story of who you've always been. So your brain quietly sabotaged you. It made the work feel harder than it was. It amplified distractions. It whispered, this isn't really you. And because your brain's #1 job is to keep your identity stable, it won. It always wins. This is why willpower doesn't work. You're not fighting laziness, you're fighting your own sense of self. And here's the part that makes this so dangerous. Most people don't even realize they're doing this. They think they're procrastinating. They think they're undisciplined. But what's really happening is an unconscious identity defense system running in the background, keeping them exactly who they've always been. Studies from Stanford's Behavior Design Lab found that people don't change through effort. They change through identity shifts. You don't become consistent by trying harder. You become consistent by becoming someone for whom consistency is normal. Here's how you know if identity conflict is sabotaging your execution. 1. You have clarity but no momentum. You know what to do, you just don't do it. 2. You feel resistance that has no logical explanation. The task isn't hard, but starting feels impossible. 3. You're more comfortable planning than executing. Because planning doesn't threaten your identity, execution does. This is the execution gap, and it's not about motivation. It's about who you think you are versus who you need to become. So how do you actually fix this? Execution psychology has a process called identity rewriting, and it works in 3 stages. Stage 1, expose the hidden identity. Most people have never consciously examined the story they tell themselves about who they are. So you start by asking one simple question. When I think about doing the thing I keep avoiding, what does my brain tell me about the kind of person who does that? Be honest. If it's starting a business, does your brain say, that's for aggressive people, and I'm not aggressive? If it's posting content, does it say, that's for attention seekers, and I'm more private? If it's cold outreach, does it say, that's for pushy people, and I don't want to bother anyone? Whatever your brain says, that's your hidden identity block. And it's been running your decisions this entire time. Stage 2, micro-identity bridging. Here's where most people mess up. They try to become a completely different person overnight. I'm going to be disciplined now. I'm going to be bold now. I'm going to be consistent now. And their brain rejects it immediately because it's too far from their current identity. So instead, you build a bridge. You don't try to become a business owner. You become someone who tests one small idea. You don't become a content creator. You become someone who writes down one thought per day. You don't become a salesperson. You become someone who sends one message without attachment to outcome. Research from behavioral science shows that small identity shifts compound. You're not faking it till you make it. You're becoming it one micro-action at a time. And each time you act, you're collecting evidence that updates your identity. I'm the kind of person who follows through. I'm the kind of person who starts. I'm the kind of person who doesn't need perfect conditions. Stage 3. Environmental identity anchoring. Here's the truth. Most self-help won't tell you. Your environment is constantly reinforcing your old identity. The same room where you've scrolled for years. The same routine where you've procrastinated for months. The same people who've always known you as someone who talks but doesn't act. So you don't try to overpower your environment with discipline. You change the environment so it reflects your new identity. You work in a different location. You remove the apps that pull you back into old patterns. You stop talking about what you're going to do with people who expect you to stay the same. Because your identity isn't just internal, it's environmental. And if your surroundings keep whispering the old story, execution will always feel like swimming upstream. Now here's the deeper layer most people miss. Identity conflict doesn't just stop execution. It creates a specific type of self-sabotage that looks like logic. Your brain will give you perfectly rational reasons to quit. It'll say, maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe I need more skills first. Maybe this isn't actually what I want. And because these thoughts sound reasonable, you believe them. But they're not logic. They're identity protection disguised as wisdom. Your brain is trying to keep you safe by keeping you the same. And the only way to override this is to recognize it for what it is. Not truth, just fear wearing a smart mask. Execution psychology research shows that the most consistent people aren't more motivated, they're more aware. They see the identity defense mechanisms in real time and act anyway. Not because it feels natural, but because they understand that discomfort is the price of evolution. Here's what happens when you actually shift your identity instead of just managing motivation. You stop needing pep talks. You stop needing to pump yourself up. Because the action you used to avoid now feels like a natural extension of who you are. The business owner doesn't need motivation to work on the business. It's just what they do. The content creator doesn't need inspiration to create. It's part of their identity. The person who executes doesn't wait for the right mood. They act because that's who they've become. This is the difference between behavior change and identity change. Behavior change is fragile. It lasts as long as your willpower does. Identity change is permanent. Because once you become someone new, the old patterns don't even make sense anymore. So here's what most people get wrong about execution. They think the problem is out there, the strategy, the system, the schedule. But the real problem is in here, the story you're telling yourself about who you're allowed to be. And the moment you realize that story is negotiable, everything changes. You're not trapped by your past patterns. You're not limited by your previous attempts. You're not stuck being the person who almost did it. You can become someone else, starting right now. So here's your one action. Don't try to execute better tomorrow. Try to be different tomorrow. Pick one micro-identity that bridges where you are to where you want to be, and act from that identity once. Just once. Not because you feel like it, but because that's who you're becoming. Because motivation fades, discipline breaks, but identity is the only thing that makes execution automatic. If this changed how you see your own resistance, subscribe. Next week, we're breaking down why your emotions aren't the problem. Your relationship with your emotions is, and it's costing you more momentum than you realize.